Hi everyone. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you to the organizers of DrupalCon 2020. I'm excited to be here and to present on the topic of incident management, specifically how agile teams can harness change and respond to disruption in ways that are overall efficient and effective. My name is Megan Davis, and I'm a senior project manager and team lead with Palantir.net. At Palantir, I manage large portfolios and projects across several industries, ranging from healthcare to state government to education. And I've been on several teams where we've experienced incidents, and based on best practices, I've developed a series of effective plays that we use here at Palantir during these moments of disruption. These plays allow us to respond faster, collaborate more efficiently, and iterate on and refine our process. That's what I'm here to share with you today. We'll start today's session by addressing some of the foundational concepts. We'll discuss what is incident management and why do we talk about it. We'll then take a look at incident management in practice. We'll look at how high-performing teams manage incidents and talk through the tools and best practices that you can implement today. We'll conclude with discussing how a team can continue to learn after the incident. So let's dive into the foundational concepts. When we talk about an incident, we're referring to an event that causes disruption or disruption to or reduction in the quality of a service we provide, and it typically requires a timely or time-sensitive response. An example of an incident is if a site or multiple sites of a client goes down. This would be a customer-facing incident, and it would have a high impact. Another example of an incident I've experienced was a particular piece of key functionality within a site stops working. And this is a smaller scale than a site going down, but you'll still need to measure the effects of the functionality being down. You'll need to identify the root causes and get the functionality back up and working. You can treat this scenario as an incident and apply the incident management play here. A third example. This may be one that you likely wouldn't immediately think of as an incident. A client may request additional iterations of a piece of design or strategy work, or iterations around a piece of functionality that go well beyond the scope of your project or engagement. This has the risk of ballooning your budget and the timeline of the project. You could treat this also as an incident, given that the project could be at risk unless a path forward is identified. So why do we talk about incident management? Well, for several reasons. To start, incidents are costly. Not engaging in best practices only makes an incident that much more expensive. So in the first example I provided of a site or multiple sites crashing, that is a real cost to the client and to their business. Incidents also have the potential of jeopardizing you, your team, and your company's reputation, which in turn impacts customer retention. Customer retention is what can keep a company thriving, those clients that keep coming back for more and more work with you. Customer retention hinges on open, honest communication and trust, which are also foundational for incident management. Finally, incidents that are handled poorly are wildly disruptive to a project team. They have the potential to steer all attention away from the work and towards an incident in a way that's unproductive and costly for your client. So acknowledging what's at risk with poor incident management. Here are the benefits of having a solid and well-executed incident management play. First, you'll see an increase in collaboration. The process that we'll go through today is inclusive of stakeholders' opinions, and it encourages the participation of team members to solve a tricky problem. Next, clear, concise, empathetic, and relevant messages and communication can help build client trust and loyalty because the client is informed more quickly. It helps to develop a shared understanding of what's happening and when. Third, trust is built. Individuals are able to trust that everyone will perform their assigned duty during an incident response. Team members are empowered to jump in and embrace a break in process if the unexpected occurs. The final step of conducting a blameless postmortem encourages honesty and it encourages openness. It also allows teammates to raise their hand or wave a flag when they see that something has gone awry and it needs to be fixed as soon as possible. Okay, so now that we have covered the foundational concept of incident management, let's see what it looks like in practice. The second portion of this presentation will be framed as a timeline of events. We'll walk through the moments when an incident is discovered. We'll cover the process that you should adopt to enable effective collaboration and communication. We'll talk through the work that you'll do when an incident is resolved. And finally, we'll identify how to meaningfully reflect on the incident in a way that assures you have a path forward to not make the same mistake twice. So let's begin with discover. You may detect an incident in several ways. Your customer or client could sound the alarm, and this is certainly never the most optimal way of learning about an incident. Your customer or client may file a JIRA ticket or casually mention this on a call. They may not understand or fully recognize the impact of the incident, and they may just talk about it as regular work. You want to ask more probing questions to learn and detect really if there's an incident underlying there. The monitoring of systems is a really clear-cut way to know if there's an incident. For instance, if a site goes down, you receive an email notification. A teammate may make an observation or flag something over Slack or email. And that's a helpful way of learning about an incident, is to have your own teammate let you know of it so you can take action. Or a teammate may mention that they're experiencing some challenges in their work. Oftentimes as a project manager, I'm in the position where I'm asking questions to learn more about the challenges that a teammate is encountering. And sometimes it's a way of detecting if there's an incident. Okay, so you recognize that there's an issue. Your client has reached out or a teammate has posted something in Slack that suggests an incident. What you do next is what makes or breaks a high-performing team. The keystone of incident management is open, honest, frequent communication. In order to create that safe space for that type of communication to happen, there has to be a shared understanding first that every company and every project team will experience an incident at one point or another. The mindset that you should have is share what you know and keep the client first. To create an environment where you can openly communicate across several planes and possibly across several teams, you're going to need a few tools. You'll need a messaging tool. Here at Palantir, we use Slack. You'll need a way to communicate with your client. This may be email or by telephone or Google Meet. You'll need some sort of shared collaboration space where you can provide live updates. Again, at Palantir, we use Google Docs and Atlassian's Confluence. And then finally, you're going to need a video chat. You'll need to talk to your teammates, to share your screen, to troubleshoot. And Zoom or Google Meet are great tools for doing so. So a question, a disruption, or a request comes in. The person receiving this disruption should notify the full project team. Every single individual on your team is empowered to and responsible for raising their hand if they hear or notice that something is wrong. Here at Palantir, this likely would be over Slack. You can use the @here function. This may include leadership, or you may choose to notify leadership separately if they have a close working relationship with the client or the disruption is of a greater magnitude. But you'll certainly want to validate with your company who needs to be notified of an incident. Next, hop on a video chat. You want to get people on a call to start organizing and talking. Move the conversation out of Slack or out of email and into a video chat. Next, you'll determine the incident team based on what you're trying to solve for. So the incident team may change depending on the incident. First, consider which area of the project is impacted. Then determine who the decision maker is and who the incident manager is. Next, determine who will be consulted and who might be informed. Identify the teammate who will manage client communications and keep the client informed of progress. And then finally, communicate these roles to the full team. This is imperative. Do not limit communication of the roles to your incident team. You want to share it out to the full project team and those involved. Those who are not part of the incident team are not brought into the decision-making process or into discussion meetings. This allows team members to progress with meaningful work that will advance the project in other ways. To combat the potentially stressful nature of incident management, the incident is logged on a status page in the Project Confluence space, even if the incident is not fully understood at the time. So what is a status page? It's a doc that you're going to want to stand up quickly, so having a template at hand is super helpful, and then you can share it out widely. I'll typically post it in our project Slack channel, notifying the full channel using @here, and then I pin it, and sometimes I'll consider emailing it to leadership if that's necessary. The goal is to get the message and the updates out there while still primarily focusing on resolving the problem. This will allow everyone to be in the loop on progress from investigation to resolution without having to be on the call or pulled into the decision-making process. A status page really is an easy-to-access template that lives in Confluence or Google Drive. It should take less than 10 minutes to generate and add to any project space. The document can and should be iterative, with a focus on getting the document shared out first, then improved upon later. The status page should outline the issue in clear, plain language, and no one should have to read between the lines or read lengthy documents to understand what's going on, or when they may expect a response. As a project manager, I see myself as a bridge between developers and the client. If I don't understand something that's happening as I'm updating the status page, It's my assumption that the client might not. And so during an incident, I'll ask a lot of questions to clarify what's happening. I never want the client to be put in a position of unclarity. Sometimes I'll even include screenshots of what's happening so that I really don't miss any detail. The status page is updated with frequent, honest, brief updates, and it serves as one place to communicate about the incident rather than digging through emails or Slack messages. Next, you'll engage in the advice process. So prior to forming a proposal, the decision maker should seek out various perspectives, and they should look to gather advice from everyone who will be meaningfully impacted or hold subject matter expertise. This collective wisdom is in support of the pursuit of a sound decision. The decision maker will form a written proposal informed by the advice that they gathered. The proposal is captured in the status page. The decision maker must uphold transparency during incidents and ensure that the status page is being updated regularly. You'll want to communicate with your client often, even if you don't have new information to share. So you're now in a place where you are ready to make a call or decide how to move forward. You're entering into the resolve phase. As you seek to resolve the issue, you'll want to review the status page and all of its content with your project team. Make sure that any open questions have been answered and the timeline looks accurate to all. Then, you'll want to close the communications, engage in wrap-up. Generally, I'll write an incident report using fully plain language so that everyone can understand what's happening and there are no open questions. I'll include an issue summary, a description of the timeline, a root cause analysis, so answering the why did this happen, and then conclude with the recommendation to move forward. I'll generally share this with clients, the full project team, any key stakeholders, and at times the whole company. And the reason why I might share an incident report with the whole company is that it promotes shared learning and shared understanding. Oftentimes, I ask the client if they want to hop on a brief call right after I send it so that we can work through it together and discuss what is in that incident report. It's also an opportunity to providing clarification. Okay, so the incident is resolved and you've closed up communications with your client and with your internal team. You know why the incident happened. You'll want to round out your practice of incident management with a blameless post-mortem workshop so that you can ensure the same mistake is not made again. A blameless post-mortem provides the team with an opportunity to stop, to breathe, and reflect on the incident. It's an opportunity to identify what went well, what worked well. You'll talk about things that didn't go as smoothly, and then things that the team wants to improve. It's likely that you'll need a full hour for this session, and you'll definitely want to have someone take notes. Sometimes, depending on the magnitude of the incident, you may need 2 hours. The key tenets for any blameless postmortem are to 1, avoid blame, 2, to keep it constructive, 3, to collaborate and share knowledge, and 4th, perhaps the most important, to identify preventative actions. You may learn that your handling of the incident went perfectly. Fantastic. Or you'll likely learn that you're going to need to iterate on your process further. You're going to need to refine your process and iron out the wrinkles. And that's totally okay. So that rounds out the practice of incident management, starting with when you first detect an incident, moving through how you might act to resolve an incident, transitioning into the actual resolve phase and closing out communications with the client, concluding with reflecting on what happened, and promoting shared growth and shared knowledge. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, my name is Megan Davis, and I'm a Senior Project Manager with Palantir.net. Thank you.